Verses 11 to 14. It is not said what effect the prophet's sermon had upon the people, but we may hope it had a good effect, and that some of them at least repented and reformed upon it, for here, immediately after, we have the dawning of the day of their deliverance, by the effectual calling of Gideon to take upon him the command of their forces against the Midianites. The person to be commissioned for this service was Gideon, the son of Joash, v. 14. The father was now living, but he was passed by, and this honor put upon the son, for the father kept up in his own family the worship of Baal, v. 25, which we may suppose this son, as far as was in his power, witnessed against. He was of the half-tribe of Manasseh that lay in Canaan, of the family of Abiezer, the eldest house of that tribe, Jos 17:2. Hitherto the judges were raised up out of that tribe which suffered most by the oppression, and probably it was so here. The person that gave him the commission was an angel of the Lord, it should seem not a created angel, but the Son of God himself, the eternal Word, the Lord of the angels, who then appeared upon some great occasions in human shape, as a prelude, says the learned Bishop Patrick, to what he intended in the fullness of time, when he would take our nature upon him, as we say, for good and all. This angel is here called Jehovah, the incommunicable name of God, v. 14:16, and he said, I will be with thee. This divine person appeared here to Gideon, and it is observable how he found him retired all alone. God often manifests himself to his people when they are out of the noise and hurry of this world. Silence and solitude befriend our communion with God. Employed in threshing wheat, with the staff or rod, so the word signifies, such as they used in beating out fitches and cumin, Isa 28:27, but now used for wheat, probably because he had but little to thresh, he needed not the oxen to tread it out. It was not then looked upon as any diminution to him, though he was a person of some account and a mighty man of valor, to lay his hand to the business of the husbandman. He had many servants, v. 27, and yet would not himself live in idleness. We put ourselves in the way of divine visits when we employ ourselves in honest business. Tidings of Christ's birth were brought to the shepherds when they were keeping their flocks. The work he was about was an emblem of that greater work to which he was now to be called, as the disciples' fishing was. From threshing corn he is fetched to thresh the Midianites distressed. He was threshing his wheat, not in the threshing floor, the proper place, but by the winepress, in some private unsuspected corner, for fear of the Midianites. He himself shared in the common calamity, and now the angel came to animate him against Midian when he himself could speak so feelingly of the heaviness of their yoke. The day of the greatest distress is God's time to appear for his people's relief. Let us now see what passed between the angel and Gideon, who knew not with certainty, till after he was gone, that he was an angel, but supposed he was a prophet. The angel accosted him with respect, and assured him of the presence of God with him, v. 12. He calls him a mighty man of valor, perhaps because he observed how he threshed his corn with all his might, and seest thou a man diligent in his business? Whatever his business is, he shall stand before kings. He that is faithful in a few things shall be ruler over many. Gideon was a man of a brave active spirit, and yet buried alive in obscurity, through the iniquity of the times, but he is here animated to undertake something great, like himself, with that word, the Lord is with thee, or, as the Chaldee reads it, the word of the Lord is thy help. It was very sure that the Lord was with him when this angel was with him. By this word, he gives him his commission. If we have God's presence with us, this will justify us and bear us out in our undertakings. He inspires him with all necessary qualifications for the execution of his commission. The Lord is with thee to guide and strengthen thee, to animate and support thee. He assures him of success, for, if God be for us, who can prevail against us? If he be with us, nothing can be wanting to us. The presence of God with us is all in all to our prosperity, whatever we do. Gideon was a mighty man of valor, and yet he could bring nothing to pass without the presence of God, and that presence is enough to make any man mighty in valor and to give a man courage at any time. Gideon gave a very melancholy answer to this joyful salutation, v. 13. O my Lord, if the Lord be with us, which the Chaldee reads, is the Shekinah of the Lord our help, making that the same with the word of the Lord. Why then has all this befallen us? All this trouble and distress from the Midianites' incursions, which force me to thresh wheat here by the winepress, all this loss, and grief, and fright, and where are all the miracles which our fathers told us of? Observe, in his reply he regards not the praise of his own valor, nor does this in the least elevate him or give him any encouragement, though it is probable the angel adapted what he said to that which Gideon was at the same time thinking of, while his laboring hands were employed about his wheat, his working head and daring heart were meditating Israel's rescue and Midian's ruin, with which thought he that knows the heart seasonably sets in, calls him a man of valor for his brave projects, and open him a way to put them in execution. Yet Gideon, as if not conscious to himself of anything great or encouraging in his own spirit, fastens only on the assurance the angel had given him of God's presence, as that by which they held all their comfort. Observe, the angel spoke in particular to him, "The Lord is with thee," but he expostulates for all, "If the Lord be with us," hurting himself with the thousands of Israel, and admitting no comfort but what they might be sharers in, so far is he from the thoughts of monopolizing it, though he had so fair an occasion given him. Note, public spirits reckon that only an honor and joy to themselves which puts them in a capacity of serving the common interests of God's church. Gideon was a mighty man of valor, but as yet weak in faith, which makes it hard to him to reconcile to the assurances now given him of the presence of God. The distress to which Israel was reduced, why has all this, and all this was no little, befallen us? Note, it is sometimes hard, but never impossible, to reconcile cross providences with the presence of God and His favor. The delay of their deliverance, where are all the miracles which our fathers told us of? Why does not the same power which delivered our fathers from the yoke of the Egyptians deliver us out of the hands of the Midianites? As if because God did not immediately work miracles for their deliverance, though they had by their sins forfeited His favor and help, it must be questioned whether ever He had wrought the miracles which their fathers told them of, or, if He had, whether He had now the same wisdom and power and goodwill to His people, that He had had formerly. This was His weakness. We must not expect that the miracles which were wrought when a church was in the forming, and some great truth in the settling, should be continued and repeated when the formation and settlement are completed, no, nor that the mercies God showed to our fathers that served Him, and kept close to Him, should be renewed to us, if we degenerate and revolt from Him. Gideon ought not to have said either, first, that God had delivered them into the hands of the Midianites, for by their iniquities they had sold themselves, or, secondly, that now they were in their hands He had forsaken them, for He had lately sent them a prophet, v8, which was a certain indication that He had not forsaken them. The angel gave him a very effectual answer to his objections, by giving him a commission to deliver Israel out of the hands of the Midianites, and assuring him of success therein, v14. Now the angel is called Jehovah, for he speaks as one having authority, and not as a messenger. There was something extraordinary in the look he now gave to Gideon. It was a gracious favorable look, which revived his spirits that dropped, and silenced his fears, such a look as that with which God's countenance beholds the upright. He looked upon him, and smiled at the objections he made, which he gave him no direct answer to, but girded and clothed him with such power as would shortly enable him to answer them himself, and make him ashamed that ever he had made them. It was a speaking look, like Christ's upon Peter, Lu 22:61, a powerful look, a look that strangely darted new light and life into Gideon's breast, and inspired him with a generous heat, far above what he felt before. But there was much more in what he said to him. First, he commissioned him to appear and act as Israel's deliverer. Such a one the few thinking people in the nation, and Gideon among the rest, were now expecting to be raised up, according to God's former method, in answer to the cries of oppressed Israel, and now Gideon is told, "Thou art the man, go in this thy might, this might wherewith thou art now threshing wheat, go and employ it to a nobler purpose, I will make thee a thresher of men." Or, rather, this might wherewith thou art now endued by this look. God gave him his commission by giving him all the qualifications that were necessary for the execution of it, which is more than the mightiest prince and potentate on earth can do for those to whom he gives commissions. God's fitting men for work is a sure and constant evidence of his calling them to it. Go, not in thy might, that which is natural, and of thyself, depend not on thy own valor, but go in this thy might, this which thou hast now received, go in the strength of the Lord God, that is, the strength with which thou must strengthen thyself. Secondly, he assured him of success. This was enough to put courage into him. He might be confident he should not miscarry in the attempt, it should not turn either to his own disgrace or the damage of his people, as baffled enterprises do, but to his honor and their happiness. Thou shalt save Israel from the hand of the Midianites, and so shalt not only be an eyewitness, but a glorious instrument, of such wonders as thy fathers told thee of. Gideon, we may suppose, looked as one astonished at this strange and surprising power conferred upon him, and questions whether he may depend upon what he hears. The angel ratifies his commission with a test mipso, an appeal to his own authority. There needed no more. Have not I commanded thee, I that have all power in heaven and earth, and particular authority here as Israel's king, giving commissions immediately, I who am that I am, the same that sent Moses.